Okay, so I have mentioned a few times in various videos that I'm using Porsche 911 seats in my Gilbern, which is just over here. But one of the things that I haven't mentioned up to now is my desire to have heated seats. Now, it was kind of annoying because I bought these seats and they were advertised on eBay as being heated, but they're not, and they was wrongly described. But they're quite, they're very good in every other respect. So rather than sending them back and getting another pair, I thought what I'll do is I'll add heaters to these seats. Now I've actually I've kind of cheated because I'm now recording this after I've already done one of the seats over here, but this one, which is the driver's seat, has only been partially done as I record this, but when I play it back to you it will actually be in the correct order, so forgive me for that. So what I need to do at this stage is to take the seat base off of this Porsche seat. So I'm going to tip the thing back and show you how to do that. I'm going to lower you down. I've tipped the seat on its back, and one of the things you see is these two plastic clips. Now you might pull these, there's a kind of peg on the clip which needs to be pulled out on each side. Now, you might be able to do that with your fingers, but probably you need a pair of pliers, so I'll just go and fetch that. Handy pair of pliers, pull the peg out, there it goes, and the other side, and that should enable this clip to pull out. Although again, I think I might need a screwdriver. You know what? I'm going to get a wider screwdriver. This one could be a bit OTT, to be honest, but hopefully it'll do the job. Right, there it goes. And the same the other side. There we go. I'm going to lower you down again. Under here, the back clips on. Slight habit of re-clipping themselves. Silly me. I missed out an important stage. On the side here, there's a control panel. One does the up and down, and the other one does the forward and back. Now, as you see, the this one here just simply pulls off. Might be an idea to leave that bit behind, actually. So that was the up and down, which is actually worked by a spring. There's two small screws here. I'm just going to take those out, and for that I'll need a very small Phillips screwdriver, which I'll now fetch. So here is my very small Phillips screwdriver. I'm just going to take these two screws out of here. And then, with a bit of manipulation on the clip. Aha! Right, I had forgotten that. I'm going to unhitch you completely. So, up inside here, there is a couple of little plastic tags. I'm going to point at one just there. The same on the other side. And by pushing up on that, enabled it to come detached. Got it. Right, okay, that was quite hard work. But finally, the panel is free. It actually hooks through the leather of the seat itself, and then you can release. This is the switch, but you can release it from its from the external panel by squeezing. Right, so it came apart by just a bit of levering with a small screwdriver, and out comes the little switch and releases the panel. Okay, with the panel removed, can quite easily unhook the seat base around the gubbins, and then it should all lift off without too much difficulty. It's got a seat belt switch, light switch on it. Okay, there's a cable tie in here attached to a spring, the seat springs, which needs to be removed. Right, so that being the driver's side was actually quite a lot more complicated because of the person detector that's built into the seat base, which wires through to the seat belt itself. I may well not bother putting that back. But anyway, the important thing is the seat base is now out. Right. Now what I did there was I reattached, because I pulled it out, I reattached the seat height adjuster back into the slot. It was hanging loose here, so I just pushed it back into the jaws of this clip so that it should work as intended. So here we have the seat base inside, and I'll need to strip off the cover so that I can get to where the heat pad needs to go. Now this particular one has got staples in addition to the plastic hooks. So the plastic hooks, which I'll show you in a second, are in fact also stapled on. And there's actually four actually at the side here too, which I will also remove. That could do with it. Right, so the plastic hooks that I mentioned are just here. You may well not be able to quite pick them out because it's black on black. One, two, three, four plastic hooks, and then the leather fabric is also hooked onto this spike, a couple of spikes, and now the whole leather cover can be peeled back. So, in common with the back, there's three places in the seat base where there's a kind of webbing strap that takes from the top right through to the back, and it actually corresponds to where these pieces of protective tape actually are. And they will have to be undone. Oh, hello Jessica. Oh, she's hiding. Oh, she was there a second ago. Right, new battery in the camera. Oh. Now these seats aren't all the same. This particular one has got this plastic strip which goes under here and up here, but each of them has this arrangement whereby there's a piece of plastic coming from underneath, and this plastic hook arrangement, which I'm pointing at the moment, which needs to be unhooked. So that's what I'm going to do, but I'll need 2 hands to do that. Okay, so this is a bit fiddly, as most of these things seem to be. Basically, you need to unhook the plastic from the plastic hook from the black plastic webbing strap. Right, finally, a flat bladed screwdriver was able to twist between the white plastic hook and the black plastic strip, which should enable this webbing strap to pull off. Now, I have now released all 3 of those hooks, and what should happen, which will make it apparent what I was talking about earlier on, is that the webbing strap from the upholstery should be able to pull right through. And this is what I'm talking about. The webbing strap here is attached to the cover, and it hangs down with this plastic strip along the bottom, and it hangs down through some slots in the cushion, and that's what we need to release. So the same procedure for the other ones. Second row, and again the webbing strap pulls down through the cushion, so I can now get my hand, bear in mind it was sewn in up to now, there and there, I can now get my fingers right up to here, and I'm now going to do the last one. Hello Jessica, hello Jasper, making your voices known. Here you are, you're on YouTube, maybe. You'd be good? You going to lie down? Yes, I hope so. Right, go lie down then. I think that may be all of them now. So now, I'll just get my hand in. And pull the third webbing strap up, and now my fingers can go all the way to the front of the seat pad. Very good. Right. Now, that might be enough for the moment. Now, here is a heater pad. The way these are built is that there is a copper mesh that runs up the side here. You can't see, in fact you have to hold it up to the light to see that it exists, one each side, and as you can see through the marks here, there's a wire, one going to that side and one going to that side, and in between the negative and positive of the battery connection there's this fishing net type of appearance stuff, which I'm told is carbon fibre. I'm not sure what it's made of, but it's a conductive web, which is the part that actually gets hot. Now the thing is that the current flows from left to right, or right to left, depending which way round it is, between the 2 copper strips and the fishing net mesh, heating mesh in the middle. And what that means is that in actual fact you can cut slots in it sideways, as long as they don't go into the copper bit which is underneath this protective tape, you can cut slots in it and it'll continue working. And that's what we need to do now, to let these webbing pieces for the upholstery fit in. My question is to decide exactly where you want to place the pad front to back. Now obviously some of the fabric leather covers right underneath the seat back, so there's no point in having anything right here because it's simply underneath another bit of the seat. And your main part of your bottom is around about here, which is why it's shiny. So I think I would recommend having it as far forward as possible such that it doesn't actually interfere with the wiring here with the webbing piece, which is actually right here. So I'm going to mark, I'm going to position my first cut to be right there, and I was going to get a pair of scissors. So the first of those webbing pieces is attached, and be careful to find out where it's attached rather than where it's lying. So it seems that the first of those you can consider to be here. Now without moving, I need to find the other two. That's hard to find because the place where they're attached is marked by a slightly deeper groove. So this one is not anything really, but that is a webbing strap, and so is that. So it's basically here, here and here. Sorry, I lied when I said that. They are here, 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 and here. Here, here, here. Right, so I'm going to line up my first mark, and that first one. I'll mark the next one, and the next one. And so as to avoid any confusion and discourage any diagonal line cutting, I'm going to cut it, mark it in two places. Now remember what I said a moment ago. The positive is down there, the negative is down here, depending which way up it is. The heating flow, the current, flows from one side to the other through this mesh. It doesn't go this way, it only goes this way, and it's for that reason it's okay to cut sideways slots in it, as long as it doesn't go into this meshy bit at the side, which you can't see, but if I fold it up you can see it's stiffer just there, and it's not just because of the protective film on it either. If I take that off, adhesive thing, it is still stiffer, and that is the copper mesh, which is very hard to see. Right, so having marked my position, I'm going to cut right across one side to the other. 2, 3. So I now have a heating bag with 3 slots in it. And we're going to feed that up through the cushion cover. Pull those webbing pieces down. I'm going to show them to you again. Now I've got 3 of them. It's kind of hard to get in there, but there is one. And it's sewn to the underneath of this cover, and it hangs down by about that much, and it has enough length to reach right through the cushion, which I'm putting my finger into now. So pull right through the cushion and reach up to those clip things on the other side. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm going to feed this through. Because the webbing pieces are kind of this wide, and the slots in the heating pad are less than that, we have to make the width of the webbing less, otherwise it will tend to want to rip out the sides of this heating pad. And that's why we need to get a knife and cut into the fabric near the top of the surface of the upholstery there, and cut into it sideways through the strap, the flap itself, to make the effective width of it less. So that's what I'm going to do now. So using a sharp knife, I'm going to reach inside the cover and cut those webbing pieces. I can't show this on camera, it's most definitely a two-handed job. It's very important to avoid cutting the actual upholstery. That's 2, 6. Definitely a job for adults. Just manoeuvring this sharp knife. I'm basically cutting in about an inch on each side, and that will help the webbing strap go through the slots in the heating pad. Okay, 6. So now that the webbing strap, which is a kind of rectangle like this with a plastic rod on one edge, and it's sewn to the underneath of the cover at the top edge, so that can pull the fabric cover through the slot, through the cushion, and clip onto those clips on the other side. So having made the webbing strap narrower, I can get it to go through these holes. Now, what I haven't done is I haven't narrowed the plastic strip. Now, I guess you could do that, but I haven't done it. That means that I've got to kind of fight the plastic strip through this hole. My reasoning for this approach being that it'll affix onto the plastic clip things on the other side more easily. But it is a further fit, like everything else in this job. It's quite hard work and a bit of a fiddle. Anyway, here I am now, finally putting the heating pad underneath the cover. I suppose another way would be to take the cover completely off, but that would involve unsticking a whole bunch of staples and glue and things all around the underside here. So I don't really want to get involved in that much effort, so I'm doing it this way. Now take your time. Whatever you do, don't tear the heating pad. Nearly there. Now these seats, as I may have mentioned before, from a Porsche 911, they have actually got a manufacturing date label thing on the frame, which says, I believe it says May 99, and so that shows that these seats are in fact 20, as we speak, 22 years old. I don't know what the mileage on the vehicle these came out of was, but whatever, I'd say that was a pretty good innings, and the fact that there's a little bit of patina on the leather, in actual fact could be even regarded as a good thing. Right, I think that's in place now. So I have to pull the webbing straps down through the slots in the heating pad, through the slots in the cushion, and up to these clips underneath, so it all kind of pulls together with a kind of sandwich. But as I also mentioned, the actual slight thing I've made a bit more difficult for myself is by making the slots actually in the heating pad not quite wide enough. Sorry, I didn't have any choice about that, but what I did have a choice about was to not narrow the metal strip which attaches to the webbing strap. I did have a choice about that, and I decided not to, and that does actually make things a bit more. Now I should be able to get hold of the cushion, get hold of the webbing strap through the cushion, I should say. So I don't think I can quite do it yet. Ah, right, there it goes. Right, the plastic strip which is attached to the webbing strap has now passed through the heater pad, through the cushion, and is now somewhere just underneath the surface, on the undersurface of this cushion. So that's what I need to do with two more of these things, and hopefully that one I just did was the most difficult. Obviously you have to start with the one furthest away from you. To start at the back would just be annoying, wouldn't it? Because you have to go past that in order to do the front one. So don't do that. So I'm bending the plastic strip into kind of U shape, feeding it down through the heater pad and the cushion, working in with my fingers until the middle can go down. There it goes. That's the middle one of the three. And finally the back one. So I'll push one end of the plastic strip down through the heater pad, through the slot in the cushion, and do the same on the other side. And because of course I cut the webbing strap itself, that means that it can open out lower down. Just a bit of encouragement. You can actually, as the plastic strip approaches, in fact you can see a bit poking through here, and it shouldn't be there, it should be over there. So I shall do a further bit of manipulation. Right, so that's all three of the plastic strips which are attached to this webbing strap is now pulled right through the heater pad, right through the cushion, and are sitting just under the surface here. And the final piece of this puzzle is to get that plastic strip attached to these plastic clips, which is the next stage. And like all of this stuff, it's quite hard work. I'm sure the room's heating up while I'm doing this. It's probably good exercise though. I'm going to have a bit of a rest though. So I've drawn a little diagram because this business of webbing straps might be a bit difficult to follow. So here we have the surface of the upholstery, leather, and these are the webbing straps that are hanging down below the surface of the upholstery, hanging down, three of them, and they have this plastic strip embedded on the edge which gives it a hard edge, and these three webbing straps run right across the whole of the upholstery layer. They poke down through the cushion to the frame on the other side. The frame attaches there, and it clamps it all together, and it gives that crease that you like to see on the surface of the upholstery, and holds it all in one piece. So what I'm attempting to do now is to attach the clips which attach from the other side where this plastic frame sits, and it has these hooks, a hook from underneath on the other side, and pull it all together. So that's the run that back if you need to read it again. Now I've actually done one of these things off camera, but I'm now going to see if I can do some more. Now there's 9 of them in total. If you look down here, use some long nose pliers, you should be able to get hold of the webbing strap plastic. And the objective now is to get that to clip on to the plastic strip. I call it a strip because while you can see one here, there's actually 3 of them, and they are all joined together with a continuous piece of plastic. And of course, the even before any heater pad was put in place, the webbing strap actually did have a little hole in it to allow these clips to go through, which I'm now trying to relocate. So of course there's a little bit of side to side movement, and the little hook thing, there it goes, little hook thing in the hanging down beneath the plastic strip passes through the hole in the fabric, hooks onto the plastic strip. That's the whole idea of it, the plastic strip that's on the edge of the webbing strap. And you can actually see when you've done that, looking down here, you probably won't be able to see that because the lighting isn't good enough, but right here you see a black thing, and that black thing is the webbing strap plastic edge hooked onto the hook, which is part of the plastic strip. And I just need to do that a few more times. Right, so that's 3 done there, 1 done here. The one thing I have noticed is that the plastic edging strip sometimes gets kind of stuck, make its way through the cushion, right, but then it does, and that's where a pair of long nose pliers can come in useful. While I'm here, this way round, I might as well hook on the back of the fabric. I suppose there's a bit of a question, which way out do you put the wire? And I think I'm going to send it out the same side as the controls. It could go out of either side, to be honest, but you've got to decide somewhere. Ah, I remember what I did before. I'll actually feed it out through a slot in the base. There, now there were some staples here before, and I may or may not put them back. Anyway, that's the back edge of the seat cover clipped into place, and I now just need to do the 3rd and final one of these upholstery rail things. So my hands are getting tired. There's my long snipe nose pliers, and I'm reaching down through the cushion in order to get hold of the plastic edge of the webbing strip. Right, that's that one. Oh, that's only promising. I think that latched. So one more to go. So I did do the last one slightly off camera. So I have 3 strips of plastic, each with 3 hooks that pull through to the fabric side and clip onto these webbing straps with their plastic edge, and that creates a kind of sandwich. And here we have a seat base that's now got a heating pad in it, and that needs to be put back on the seat. So I'm filming this in a bit of a funny order, so at this point I'm going to demonstrate how to take the seat back cushion off, albeit, as you can see, I've already done this once and the heater is already fitted, but for completeness, to show you how it comes off. So the seat back cushion latches onto the base of the back like that. So it's just a plastic hook that works kind of like that, a big long one. And then when you release that, the whole thing lifts up like this, and it hooks on at the top to one of these wires, which is right at the top here, which you can dislodge with your fingertips, maybe a screwdriver, a bit of a fiddle. And finally, so this is the back of the cushion, and as you can see, you've got these hooks that hold the fabric on, but the top 3 hooks here are different, they're bigger, and that is because they latch onto this, what's more of a rod than a wire, at the back of the seat. So, as I've already fitted the seat heater, as evidenced by these wire bows, I shall just now put it back on again. Right, that's better. Having filmed a whole segment without a memory card in the camera. So, you've missed the part where I took the fabric cover off of the cushion. This is the back cushion from a Porsche 911, and what you missed was me taking the hog rings, which are metal rings that attach the back piece through the cushion and into these fabric webbing pieces that are part of the cover itself, and plus the hooks on the side of the fabric part which hook onto the plastic as well, making it a nicely consolidated piece. So anyway, we'll recap some of that when it goes back together again. The objective here, of course, being to fit the heated cushion. Now, the cushions are widely available, the heating elements that is, are widely available on eBay, of course, wherever else. And this is what they look like. Now, apparently these things are made of carbon fibre, which I'm not sure I totally believe, but nevertheless, that's a seat pad. There's some wiring obviously, and also the seat pad for the base, which will also need to go on. And basically it needs to go on the cushion like that. Now, as I've already pointed out, these webbing pieces are needed to go through the cushion through to the back, which means that the heating pad is in the way. So you might think it would be impossible, but actually that's not true, because you're allowed, as it were, to cut this heating pad. Due to the way it works, there is a copper conductor, which you can't really see under this plastic, a copper conductor up there connected to one side of the wiring harness, another one the other side, connected to the other side of the wiring harness, and it's connected together left to right with this sort of webbing stuff, which is conductive. So the current flows from here to here, or here to here, heating up the element. And what that means is that you can cut slots in the element that way, and it doesn't really make any difference. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to excuse me. What we're going to do is going to cut some slots in the element that only go as far as the edges of this thing, does not go as far as the edge where the copper conductor is. And then these webbing pieces will go through. So that's what we're going to do right now. Now this approach is actually contrary to another one that I have seen on the internet, which involved folding the element like that in order to go down into the slots. But I'm going to go with this one because I'm not very happy about two elements being folded together with insulating foam each side, because I would have thought that would create a hot spot. So I'm going to do it this way with slots in the actual heating web itself. So I just fetched a pen. Now I can see quite clearly where the three slots in the cushion are, there, there and there, and that's where we need these slots in the heating mesh to be put. And as well as that, we need to make sure that we don't overhang the top of the seat cushion, because that's going to cause a kind of high spot in the fabric. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the end off as well to make it a little bit shorter. Now you look at the instructions and that says that is indeed allowed to do that. So I'm going to just cut a little segment off here. Yeah, I think that should do it. I'm going to cut the corners off actually, because I think that will still be okay, because the conductive copper mesh is quite broad actually, and the worst that can happen is the top bit won't work. So having chosen my position for the heating pad, I'm just going to mark on it where that corresponds to the three slots in the cushion. So there's one there, one there, and one there. So now I'm going to cut a hole sideways in the heating pad. And notice that I'm not going any further than the central section, because if you do that you'll be interfering with the side conductor. This is what the electrical current requires to reach from the bottom to the top. Okay, I'm cutting all the way to the edge, because as you will see there's actually a further problem. Right, so that's my three slots. Now what needs to happen is that these webbing pieces need to pass through the slots. But as you'll see on this seat, the webbing piece is actually too wide, and because it's got this plastic strip, you can't very well stretch it, because it wants to buckle up. So what I'm doing is I'm going to cut a section out. Now this fabric stuff, I don't know what it's made of exactly, but unlike many fabrics, it certainly won't be prone for, you know, the weave, as it were, of the fabric running. It's very, very tough stuff. I don't know, some kind of fiberglass cloth, I think, possibly. So I'll cut a slot in there, and the same on the other side, taking a good deal of care not to cut the stitching or the leather cover itself, which would cause it to make a hole, basically. Right, so here we have the webbing pieces now have this kind of V shape in the ends, and because of that they will fit through without too much trouble. That's the idea, but obviously that needs to be done with the fabric, with the cushion indeed there. So I think actually I will cut it out a little bit further towards the bottom edge. Right, so more like that now. Anyway, right, so now these bits of cloth, fabric stuff that we don't need. Now the instructions of this particular seat cushion heater seem to indicate that the end, the cut end, where I guess where the conductive elements of the heater itself is, let's say that they should be cut up, well, covered up, sorry. So we'll do that in a second. I'm going to position the cushion so that it coincides with the slots. So position the cover so that it coincides with the slots in the cushion. And they provide this handy sticky tape stuff, which I'll use to cover up the cut end. Okay then. So this is the cushion with the heating pad attached to it, and now I'm going to put it all back together again. Right, so this is where I diverge a little bit from the original with hog rings, as I'm going to use ordinary electrical wire. Now I've used some fairly, what is this, 5 amp, fairly strong wire, and this will replace, obviously you start off with it being much too long, but it will replace the hog rings. It's long because you need to be able to tie a knot in it. So I'll just put that on there, and I might as well do them all in one go. This all gets cut down to a short piece once it's been tied into place. And if you notice, although I've cut a V shape out to the edge of the webbing piece here, there's still a hole fairly far into the fabric for this wire to attach onto, so there's still a good amount of strength left in these webbing pieces after it's been slightly cut back. Right, so that's them. So I've now got to fit in each of these pieces. I'm starting at the head end. That's my 3 pieces fitted to the webbing. And now I'll feed the plastic strengthening piece for the webbing also through the hole in the heating element. And now the heating element should be quite, or rather the webbing piece is now, if you look down here, very visible, because the webbing piece is pulled right through the cushion and the heating element to the back of the cushion. So I just need to attach it also to the plastic frame, sewing in a sort of very coarse way. This is a hole in the end where there's a piece that's pushed down there in the plastic frame, and because of that there's a hole at the end of the each pushed down section, so it's actually very easy to put the wire through. Now for a moment of truth. Now I did find before that I have a flat bladed screwdriver to prise the sort of jaws of this moulded section apart. Could be quite a good idea. Start with the middle one. Hello Jessica. Jessica's here again. What are you doing? Go and lie down. Go on. And now the plastic piece from the webbing is now pulled almost to the surface of the plastic frame. And what I'm going to do, now obviously this is to do the job previously done by the hog rings. What I'm going to do is feed the wire each side of the plastic frame, and there we are, have a thing that's not a hog ring but does the job of a hog ring. And as you can start to see where the fabric is going to go back on as well, which I will start to do. I think it will actually make fitting these remaining clips a little bit easier. Pull hard, you can actually hear it. I don't know if you heard that. You can actually hear it clunk as it goes through, so that the plastic runner thing on the webbing piece is now pulled through the plastic frame. Poke the wire through and tie a knot in it. That's 2 down out of 9. Right, well, that one didn't make such a clunk as the first ones did, but nevertheless it is now quite visible just below the level of the plastic frame. So I shall feed the plastic through, feed the wire through from opposite sides, so that I can tie a knot in it. That's the first of the webbing rails fitted. As you can see, it's pulled the cushion in nicely, and don't forget the heating element is there. So on to the next. The process is exactly the same, so I need to pull the wire through so it pulls the webbing piece from the fabric side right up through the cushion, so that it meets the plastic frame. Right, so what happened there is that the webbing pieces with the plastic rail thing attached to the edge of the webbing had got twisted, basically, so the plastic rail wasn't actually coming through properly. Finally, it went with a bit of a wiggle. Perhaps you saw me doing that. Right. Feed the wires through from opposite sides through the rest of the webbing. Sorry, through the rest of the plastic frame. Trying not to get my terminology mixed up. And again, I can tie a knot. Phew. Right, last one on this webbing piece. What you notice is when it is simply attached to the webbing piece, the two sides of the wires which I'm using come together rather than being spread far apart, which they tend to do before they've got through the plastic frame, which has these kind of jaws designed to catch the end of the webbing. If you can see in here, that's the end of the stiffener on the webbing. Hasn't properly gone through the hole in the cushion, so it will have to be pushed through. This is all a function of the fact that the heating pad is probably... there it goes. Because you have to cut those slots in it, which are actually narrower than the plastic runners. Now I suppose you could actually shorten them rather than cutting a V shape in the end as I did. You could just cut the ends off. But anyway, there it is. Again, it didn't make a clunk this time. And that's the second one of these webbing pieces, and again, as you can see, it's got a nice crease as it's meant to have in the front of the cushion. So, improving my method as I go along, you can actually feed the wires through up to the middle so they're ready to pull the plastic stiffener up. There it goes. Did you hear that? I guess from a point of view getting a nice crease, it is actually the middle one that's the most important. That's the one that's got the most tension on it. Yeah, that's that one. That went really, really easily, that one, for a change. Last one. Okay, after a little faux pas with the camera battery. So, here we have the cushion. Now has 3 nice grooves in it, like it's meant to have, and the fabric edges are all pulled back up, and it's ready to go back on the seat base, with the wire hanging out obviously for the heating element itself. But what I should also do at this point is snip off these spare ends, hoping that I don't need to tighten any of them up. And I think the ability to pull the plastic rails through, which would be a problem anyway with the hog rings, unless you have some special clamp to do it all with. I think it's worked out quite well. So there we have it. That's the rubbish bits over there, and that's the finished hog ring replacement, made of wire, ready to go back on the seat. And the seat, this cushion hooks on the seat frame with these 3 hooks up here, and this thing latches on at the bottom, which I won't be doing for a little bit. But anyway, that's one seat back completed. Actually, this is the second one because I did one before. But this was just the same in reality. So yeah, it was quite hard work, to be honest. Got in a bit of a sweat with it all, but I think yeah, these are very nice seats. Amazingly, there's a date label somewhere on the frame that says that they're made in May '99, so they're 22 years old, and that's pretty bloody good, I reckon. So no complaints about that, and well worth another lease of life. And it's got a bit of patina on it, if you like, but that's all good. I like that. So signing off for this segment, and see me back with a seat base at some point in the nearest future. So here's the seat base, and I'm going to ignore all the wiring for the moment, because it's pretty self-evident, to be honest. It plugs in where it fits, so this is just the mechanical side. So the seat cushion at base has got kind of feet which sit onto a metal shelf in here. So basically you just shove it in, and make sure my heater wires come out the same side for the base and the back. I think I'll stick it out the back of the frame actually as well. That's the wiring. So that goes in there. We'll just hook the side of the base over the mechanism for the seat adjustment. No. These cut out bits here sit onto this tubular bar here, so I just need to, there it goes, and it's now in place. And then we replace the plastic hooks or plastic clips that were taken off before, and they go there we go, and put the plastic plug in, and that is the seat base reassembled. And as I mentioned, there's wiring for the controls that needs to be routed into the switches, but that's just the opposite of taking it out. So I thought I'd do a bit of a follow-up video to summarise everything that happened before, and kind of come to a conclusion. Is it worth it to retrofit seat heaters? And as no doubt you noticed, I was getting rather red in the face at times from the effort of putting the webbing pieces and all that, feeding it through the cushion, and it was quite hard work, that's absolutely true. But I guess it probably took me roughly an hour and a half per section, so an hour and a half, an hour and a half, an hour and a half, and an hour and a half on the other seat, and that's the amount of effort it took, which was yeah, quite a long time. So I probably would question whether it was really worth it. To some extent, as an academic exercise, because I've never done it before. Would I do it again? I'd probably try to find a way not to do it. To be honest, I'd get the heated seat in the first place. But as I mentioned, these seats are very good in nearly all respects. So I've got Jessica joining in with me again, as she tends to do. That's my summary. I think if you had a better way of doing it, then do that. But if you really fancy the challenge, or maybe heated versions of your favourite seat aren't even available, then that's it. That's the way to go about it. So you might also be interested to know, of course, whether it actually works. So I've brought my trusty temperature gun, which I'll use to demonstrate that with. So here is the non-heated side of the seat, and it points where the little red dot is. As you can see, hopefully, that's 23 degrees. Now the thing's plugged into a battery charger at the moment, so it's drawing about 2 amps, and the heated pad is in here. So if I press it again, you'll see the heated pad is about 30, 29, 28, 30, and the same up the back. So yes, it does work. It's not a ragingly powerful heater, but these things aren't. You have to remember that when you're using them, you're basically sitting on them, and you're sandwiching your bottom onto the upholstery, and that's where you feel the benefit from it. And of course, in times when you're likely to want it most, it won't be as warm as it is today, 23. It would perhaps be down at 5 or something of that kind. So it was a lot of effort. It does work, and the slotted method of putting holes in the heating pad to allow these webbing straps to pass through into the cushion, that was one of the harder parts, especially on the base, as you'll have noticed. Doing it up, reaching up inside the seat cushion was indeed hard work. The back was a lot easier. I guess you could put just one part on rather than both, if you wanted to. It may of course also be that other seats, other types of seats, are easier to work on than this one actually is. So what is the other sort of summary point? One thing I didn't mention too much is the electrical switch on the side, which I'll just unswitch you again. The electrical switch, which is this one, this is a kind of spring. This one is an electrical switch, and I did actually manage to lose the innards of that because I'd pulled the front off. That wasn't a good idea. I did manage to get it put back together, but in actual fact I may end up rewiring the motors so the switch is somewhere else in the car, because in the Gilbern these are kind of sandwiched in the side of the sill. So there are alternatives even if you get into trouble with those electrical pieces. That's anyway, that's working out. It gives me a couple of choices which I didn't previously have. And the actual kit itself comes with this convenient wiring harness with a little switch on the end. It's got 2 positions, warm and slightly less warm, and it operates a relay in here. I'm not exactly sure what it does, to be fair. It clicks when you change it over. I've got a feeling it may be something like wiring the seat pads in series rather than parallel, because there's no load resistor or anything of that kind. But anyway, I think they're about 40, 39, 38 pounds a set, so it's all right really. I think it's quite worth it. And the current load, which I was surprised to see It's quite low at sort of two-ish amps, so it doesn't draw a dramatic amount of heat to a current that you might imagine would flatten your battery. Certainly way less than a headlamp, for example. So I think, in summary, it's a good conversion project. Your mileage may vary, but that's what my experience tells me.